Right, I'm here with Dave Macpherson, candidate for Hamilton West in the 2019 local body elections in Hamilton. How's it going?
How are you, Lance?
You must be the celebrations over yet at the Hamilton to Auckland passenger train?
Yeah.
Or you're still celebrating?
No, it's more like with the day the train actually runs, we'll be celebrating. No, that's been cool. It's something you've probably heard people talking about around the traps for 15 years.
Well, I know every single election I've taken part in interviewing and photographing and stuff. Dave Macpherson has been the one constant all the way through there with a passenger rail from Hamilton to Auckland every single election.
And it's happening.
And it's happening now.
June next year. But as I said, celebrations still 10 months away, Lance.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to physically see it in action first.
Yeah.
And I must admit, if I don't get to go for a ride when all the politicians go for a ride, I'll definitely be going for a ride just for the sake of riding it back and forth. You know,
yeah.
I go to Auckland a fair bit by bus, mainly because the bus takes me right to Sky City, and I often a lot of my photo stuff starts from there generally.
Okay.
But I'll now be looking at the bus timetable, train timetable, whatever it is in local Auckland to get from Papakura to the central city.
In fact, one of the things that we reckon will work quite well, we thought about trying to get the train in there, is get yourself to Newmarket on the train, and from Newmarket, there's two different train lines, the west one and the one on into the city, last 2 or 3 days, plus all the bus lines intersect there as well. Go to Newmarket, you'll be going anywhere in Auckland from there.
Oh, right. Yeah, because since the train's going to be there, and I'm a bit of a train lover, so I will be doing that train trip.
Well, it's a nicer trip anyway, really, than sitting in a bus. That's okay, but you can't sort of have your table out and working on your laptop or whatever, which you can.
Because when I've been to Auckland to do photography stuff, street photography, whatever it happens to be, my trip back is normally me staring, if I don't doze off, it's me sitting there staring at my camera, sorting out my images, right? Yeah. And I have been thinking of and often I send a few through to my phone to do a brief edit and upload so people get an idea of what's coming. But I do at least do the sorting on the camera on the way back. Yeah. And that's something you can't do in a car. Well,
there'll be USB ports and Wi-Fi as well on these carriages. So not only sorting, if you want to upload some stuff before you get back,
that'll be cool.
You'll be right.
Well,
there.
that's the thing nowadays. If you don't have Wi-Fi and USB charging points on something like a bus and train nowadays, it's a bit backwards.
Yeah.
Like, most people, you take anyone under the age of 20, and you say, "Oh, the train doesn't have Wi-Fi or charging ports." They'll think they're back in the Stone Age. It's okay for people like you and me who were around long before this.
Yeah. I can still remember party lines on phones.
Yes. We were one of the last exchanges where I was to have a phone that you actually wound and I admittedly we only had it for a few months when we shifted to Tekawiti, and then it was changed. But it's quite a laugh. We still had one of those really old, big clunky dial phones, and it's hilarious to think, the way technology's moved, and that's something I've asked a number of candidates or talked about is the use of technology, and not just getting people interested in the action, but to consistently take part in being interested throughout the term between elections, rather than just turning up, voting, and then forgetting about it.
We've pretty much got the ability to do that now, but we don't actually do it. We live stream and we podcast council meetings at the moment, but we don't have an app that'll think, hey, the council's meeting today, I know they're talking about the train to Auckland, I'll just flick on and see if they're up to that part of the meeting on your app or something. We haven't just taken the last step that wouldn't be hard to do. From the point of view as a councillor, about a month and a half ago, I was up at a conference in Auckland. Now, I didn't have to be at the conference 24/7. There were sessions I wanted to be at, sessions I didn't, and there was a particular important issue came up there to do with the living wage.
Oh, yeah.
Here, and I couldn't be at both things. If we had factored in the ability to join the meeting electronically, I could have been there, had my say, had a vote, and we actually would have changed the result because there was only one vote in it.
Yeah.
In my favour, but we didn't have that functionality to do that.
And that's another thing, is it would be quite good if there was a way in which there could be someone sitting in on the council meetings that is running relevant social media or an app, so that anyone who actually is taking an interest in the meeting, who may not be there but might be watching it live streamed or whatever, can actually ask a question that potentially the person sitting there makes an evaluation. Can this be fitted in? You know, it might be a valid question to do with an issue being discussed that can be put to the meeting. And
we've got the technology to do that sort of thing now. We just haven't taken those last little steps to actually do it.
It's like when we have a list of things we know we're supposed to do, but you sort of don't get round to it.
Tell me about it.
But anyway, I should really start off with the question I've asked everyone, and that's, why should we vote for you? Well, actually, I can't vote for you because you're on the west now, I'm on the east now.
Okay.
But why should the people vote for you, Dave Macpherson?
Well, it depends whether if they want youth and experience together, then vote for me. I'm young at heart. It's funny, people have said, you're an old has-been, you should be there. Well, I'd say look around the council, see who gets things done, who gives a bugger what age they are if they can do things. And, well, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm known for not sitting around on my hands just talking about things. Get in and do it. The experience helps, because sometimes you have to know how to wade through the bureaucracy to get things done. In fact, not just sometimes. Or
you have a store of knowledge from experience from the past that you can work on and go, hang on, we can't make this mistake again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I it does annoy me sometimes with staff who get asked the question by council, well, why are you doing things this way? And they should say, well, ask Dave, because he was here last time we came up. So, look, don't vote for me if you want people that are good at talking, but don't get into the kitchen to get things done. If you want to get things done, then I'm your person. And it really doesn't matter the age. I mean, it's good to have an age range on council, but you also need to do things, the things that the people want done. And the train is an example. It took ages. I remember some of those campaigns you're talking about. We had mayoral candidates, people who got elected mayor, saying, yes, I support the train, and doing absolutely zero to actually get it. Yeah. These things don't happen without a lot of hard work behind the scenes. And it's stuck in my mind, the passenger train from Hamilton to Auckland, as being the Dave thing, because you knew that every election you would be out there, you'd bring it up again. There was the group of councillors that supported, or candidates that supported the train being running and this sort of thing. But there was always, Dave Macpherson was the person associated with getting the trains going. Same as I was talking with Angela the other day, that you and her are the two that I distinctly remember from the Saving Franklin Markets campaign. Yep. And we were talking about that. So you're out there doing things. You're on the, well, to put it bluntly, on the front line. Even as a councillor, you're out there making sure that that important things are kept and done. Which is good. Yeah. So look, everyone can blow their own trumpet, but it just depends. Do you want an active council or do you want a passive council? You want an active council. This last one's been quite good, more active than most. They've supported me getting things on the trains and buses. They have supported other people with their cycleways and new developments, getting more high-rise instead of all sprawl, all sorts of new things that we haven't really done and got into in the past have been supported by this council.
And I've heard a few people say that, maybe we should put limitations on how long a councillor can stay on council and this sort of thing. And I'm not a full supporter of that, because I think if more people voted, that would fix itself, because the councillors that aren't performing in a term would be voted out next time around if more people took part in the election.
If more people took part in
and
it.
those that are doing a good job will be kept in.
Yeah, knew about it.
Yeah.
And I guess I can say that people obviously must think I'm doing an okay job because they've kept re-electing me.
Yeah.
And, you know, artificial things like someone's age, how long they've been on council, whether what gender they are, what ethnicity they are, they're all things that you should take account of, but is the council or is that council or doing what you want them to do?
Yeah.
That's the bigger thing. I mean, we would love more Māori on council, absolutely, and I've always supported that. But at the end of the day, whether or not there are Māori on council, for instance, I will support Māori initiatives, like getting Māori representatives on council. So it didn't take me being Māori to do that.
No, it takes having a fair and balanced mind of what's good for the community.
Yep.
Now, I think to some degree it's like any community, be it Asian, be it Indian, be it Pakistani, be it Māori. If you want those people representing you on council, then as that part of the community, you need to find those people that would make good councillors, even if they're quite young, and you spend the next 6 years training them up and preparing them to actually run for council, then support them and vote them in. But I think anyone who is fair-minded and decent has the ability to see both sides of this and see what's good. Just take the living wage thing, right?
Yep.
For all the sitting councillors, the living wage doesn't impact them directly at all because they're way above that, right? But fair-minded councillors can see that it is beneficial to lead the way by having council staff paid a living wage and then putting that also onto contractors, which I see is a good way to lead.
Yep.
I've mentioned this with a couple of candidates about, do you think Hamilton is in just the right position now, if we do things well, to lead by example and show other councils and even the country as a whole, you know, the central government, how things really should be done? Things like public transport, living wage, these sorts of things.
Absolutely. Look, there's a number of councils, for instance, that are giving their staff a living wage, and we're part way towards that ourselves, but very few that are giving contractors a living wage. And in some councils, the contractors are the biggest portion of low-paid workers. We're probably, I guess, 50-50 sort of range there with staff and the work. We should be giving them all the living wage, and that's been my platform. That's one thing. But buses is an area that public transport that we really could. We're starting to lead the way anyway. No one else gives free weekends for youth. Phil Goff in Auckland said, if I get re-elected, I'll do it. My sort of question to someone like Phil Goff would be, well, why haven't you done it the last 3 years if it's such a good idea? We've done it. We've done it to start. In fact, at the next council meeting, we're saying let's extend it from weekends to public holidays as well.
Okay.
And that's coming forward in the 2 weeks of council.
Oh, that's cool.
2 weeks from today.
I saw your post on social media about buses and talking about, effectively, if you paid better wages to bus drivers, you would have more drivers and they would stick with it longer.
Yep.
Because it's become noticeable that we have a bit of a problem with a shortage of bus drivers.
Yep.
I know one ex-bus driver in particular who left because of the conditions he was working under and things like this, and he found better work somewhere else that made him happier, because he found his life as a bus driver, although he loved doing it, it was stressful and he wasn't a happy chappy.
Yeah.
And now he's doing something else, and he is.
I've met with a lot of the bus drivers. I've gone to some of their meetings recently, and it's clear that they actually do have a heart for their job.
Yeah.
But by crikey, you can't live on the heart for your job, you know, if you've got a family to support.
No.
It's not possible. And they're getting paid shit wages, not to put too fine a point on it. One of the annoying things for some of us is we got involved in supporting them during the bus drivers' strike November last year. Our council, and we got the regional council as well, have put up the money to provide half share to bring them up to the living wage level. all it will take is for the government, or NZTA, the Transport Agency, to put up its half share, which it initially agreed to do, but has since not done. The whole thing's stymied because they won't put
They
their
still
part
haven't
of
put
it
their
in.
hand in their pocket yet.
That's right. And our council and the other council has. So what's going to happen? Next Monday, the bus drivers have voted to go on strike from next Monday because of it. So we're going to be back into that round, and that's going to affect people who use buses like you and me sometimes. It's going to affect school kids. We're going to make that school traffic horrendous while it's going on. All because the other people that should be backing our initiatives aren't.
Haven't done their part.
Disability concession of free buses for disability. First council, first area in New Zealand to do that. Now that was a joint initiative of Hamilton City Council and Waikato Regional Council. But that's just a start. The Mayor and I ultimately want. We're talking about within the life of the next council, making all buses free for youth. All the time. So we all know how much easier it is if you're driving to get around the city during school holidays. So let's make that transport access thing like a school holiday the whole time. We reckon if we can get between 10 and 15% of kids currently being taken by their mums and dads to school each day on a bus, because it's free, if we can divert that amount, we'll get the traffic moving much more smoothly in the city. It'll make it appear like a school holiday. If we can get 50% of them on, we'll be like sweet for 30 years. We won't need to build new highways, new roads, new traffic lanes if we can get more people using public transport, and the key to that is school transport, we believe. So that's our aim, is to gradually expand that free use for youth on buses, and we will be the first in the country to do that.
That's cool. Now, something else I've been interested to talk to you about, and that's it relates to mental health, and that's we've got a homeless issue at the moment. People sleeping on the street, begging on the street, and we know statistics and various other bits of information tell us that a large percentage of those people have some sort of, some might have addiction issues, but most of them have some sort of mental illness of some sort. And so far, a lot of initiatives have been more push them out to the suburbs or this sort of thing. Do you think Hamilton City Council can do a lot better in this area by at least helping to support the groups that could reach out to these people and help them become a better part of society, or at least put wraparound care around them so that it's not just them being homeless, it's them just being on the street begging because they haven't got anything else in life?
Look, there's no doubt we could do better, and I don't support us only getting them off the CBD streets and moving them out to the suburbs, which is effectively what's been happening. I think that's short-termism. It's just a way of removing the problem from your sight, but not doing anything about the actual problem. So we do need to support wraparound services. I mean, we need to harass governments to do more in their space, harass DHBs, get our own community support workers involved in this space, making sure that our city safety people, our uniformed pseudo-cops, if you like, give them some training in that area so they can maybe not find the house for the person or get them on a benefit.
But relate to them better.
Relate to them,
treat them
but also know who to go to, who to go with them to. Not send them somewhere, go with them somewhere. We definitely don't do enough in that space. The whole of Hamilton, it's not just the council, it's not just our responsibility, and that's one thing. We've had a lot of talk from central government, but precious little change in culture. It's not that central government haven't put money into that space, but the mindset of someone in WINS or MSD offices is they'll stand behind a counter and they'll decide whether you should get a benefit or not. Why is the person on the benefit? Why do they need to be on the benefit? What other issues in their life have they got? They'll
even make decisions contrary to medical advice often. I've heard some atrocious situations where WINS staff have actually contradicted what a doctor has advised. And this is an area that unfortunately you have good reason to have experience and pretty damn good knowledge on.
Yeah.
And so people might say, oh, just a counsellor talking about mental illness, but you actually have a good reason to know what you're talking about in this area.
Yeah, obviously my son went through that before he suicided 4 years ago, and that became pretty celebrated, or in lots of inverted commas case, and the DHB and the police were ruled not to have done their jobs properly by the independent authorities. That didn't bring our son back, and unfortunately lots of other families are in the same situation. And he wasn't employable in your standard normal full-time job, but there were times he could work and times he could study, but he never had that support himself. And he had help from his family, but that we had our own lives as well, and he certainly didn't want us interfering in his life, being a young man, 21.
And employment's not the only thing that makes your life worthwhile. You don't have to be in paid employment to contribute to society either.
I've been on the benefit myself in the past, and also worked in the Wellington area for many years for an organisation called the Unemployed Workers Union.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I know that sort of background personally, as well as through more recent family. And you can have a very fulfilled life and be on a benefit and be on a low income, and be renting a house. You don't have to own a house and be on the $80,000 a year or more to actually have a good quality of life, depending on what else is happening in your life. Yeah. So that's what we've got to. We've got to make sure that everyone in Hamilton. I think this is a partial responsibility of council and society as a whole in Hamilton needs to make sure that everyone in this city has a reasonable quality of life, has the opportunity to do the sorts of things they want to do, is not having artificial or bureaucratic obstacles put in their path.
Yeah. And also, I wouldn't wish what's happened to you with your son on anyone. We don't want other people going through that whole procedure just because their family member was left on the street and eventually got fed up with it and decided that's it.
Yeah.
We don't want that. And I think it comes back to the fact that if our council can do something positive and show that it can be done, we can lead by example and be an example to other councils as to what can actually be done by proving it can be done.
I think you touched on it before, Lance. It's not necessarily or not only what council can do directly with people in that situation or families in that situation. It's how we can support or enhance the groups that are already out there and doing it. We need, for instance, and we're working on it, provide a lot more support for the different community centres and community houses around the place, for the housing organisations for people with severe housing needs, like the men's shelter, night shelter, and the homeless housing organisation that we've got here in Garden Place. If we're supporting them strongly, then they have more ability to do the work instead of spending half their time fundraising to be able to work.
Because there's a lot of people in those organisations, because I've done a lot of photography for different groups, in particular Hamilton West, there's a lot of people in those organisations who are quite irritated by the quagmire they have to wander through just to get anything done and to raise funds, get the funding for something, and they can see the things that they're not being able to do, and it annoys them, and I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and I've worked for many years as a community worker before I got this job in council, and you do. You feel like you're spending most of your time fundraising for your own job, which is probably not 100% accurate, but it takes the joy out of doing the work. It takes the effectiveness away from your work that you are doing. If you're worried about where the next dollar to keep the door open and pay the electricity bill for your organisation is.
Yeah, you've got to be a pretty damn determined person to go through all that.
And that's, that sort of thing was my life education that led to me being able to come onto the council with good life experience. I'd I'd been a student representative at my high school. I'd been one at at the university I went to and never finished my degree. I'd been a union delegate, but not a paid union organiser or anything, just a worker on the job helping represent other workers. I've been unemployed. I've been in low-paid jobs. I've worked in community education. I've worked running community centres. So that, for me, set me up for local body politics, if you like, because I could see all the opportunities that could be done if we improved that situation for groups.
Thinking forward to, say, 30 years from now, what do you see Hamilton looking like, both socially and physically?
Look, physically / geographically, you're going to see Ngāra Wahia, Cambridge, Te Awamutu, Gordonton, Whara. That's all they'll be suburbs of Hamilton one way or another.
Yeah.
And who cares where the legal boundary is? People from Whara, if they don't already, will live there and work in Hamilton and go to school in Hamilton, or vice versa. So we'll have a much bigger geographic... the centre of the Waikato will be Hamilton.
Yeah.
And we'll have a population... Right now we've got a population of over 300,000. If you take the area that people commute from each day to work or go to school, go to university in, we will have a population of 500,000 in 30 years.
A lot of people.
At least in that area. As the pressures go on in Auckland, they're running out of land. They're already spilling over the Bombay Hills.
We need to put a fence up at the Bombay.
We've got to get that passport control going, mate. But, you know, they'll be coming down here, factories and that are relocating to
we've got
Hamilton,
an inland port going in.
We've got 3 inland ports.
Okay.
The Fonterra one, that's all been there for a couple of years, the New Auckland one, and the Ruakura one, which is associated with the Port of Tauranga. And that's the staging ground for distribution for every bit of freight going out of New Zealand will actually be here in the central Waikato, in and around Hamilton.
And all those places need workers.
And all those workers need houses. And all of the people in those houses need schools and medical centres and hospitals and all of that. You can see people say, I got annoyed the hell out of me 2 days ago. I went to a council meeting where it said our current population, last year was 169,300. That's the exact figure. 14 months ago, which means we've got 173,000 now. They said that it'll be 186,700 in 2028. I did my sums. Averaging a rate of increase even slightly slower than what we've got now, we're going to be 208,000. That's just the cities within the boundaries, plus the other 150,000 outside the boundaries. They got it way wrong, and we always, for the 10 years now, we've been underestimating the growth of Hamilton. That's going to be a big place, a big issue. I think we're still going to have one university. We're lucky. We've got a university, a Wintec and a Wānanga. Big, all of them big tertiary institutions. So we've got the ability not only to have the young people staying in Hamilton after they leave high school for their training, but people coming in from the surrounding areas.
And actually going from university potentially straight into working in the area as well.
I think, I don't know about 30 years, but within 50 years we'll be the second biggest city, and we'll be linked by fairly continuous development except for the river and some of the wetland areas and mountains in between us and Auckland, we'll have a fast train going to Auckland, not the one that we're starting with. It'll be get you to downtown Auckland in about an hour and 10 minutes. But
you have to start somewhere. You have to walk before we walk.
We'll have rapid bus systems. We'll have rail between Cambridge, Te Awamutu and Hamilton, and Morrinsville and Huntly and Hamilton. And the shuttle rail services will be coming in. So if you live out in Cambridge, you won't be your own car. You won't even be in a bus fighting your way through traffic. You'll be hopping on the train because it'll get you to downtown Hamilton in about 20 minutes versus 40 minutes in a car if you're trying to fight through the traffic. It'll be a lot easier to get around if you buy into what we call mass transit, the public transport sort of high volume, high frequency routes we have.
I find it quite amusing in a way that we've sort of gone full circle with that, or will go full circle with that. Back in the days before it was normal for people to own a car, everyone travelled everywhere pretty much on buses or trains,
Yeah.
back in the steam train days,
Yep.
right? And even the early diesel trains. Then we moved away from that. Now we're starting to see that that wasn't a bad idea, actually, and we're heading back in that direction, which is, I think it's interesting that it's going full circle.
Yeah.
We've had our play with everyone owning a car, and we're starting to realise that that's not the best option all the time.
We bought as a culture, into the post-Second World War American dream, you know, and look where it's brought us congested and choked cities.
Yeah.
The only problem is the Americans worked out in most of their cities what they were doing wrong 20 years ago. We're still finding out now.
Yeah. Well, you take places like New York and that, where people grow up that actually never drive a car.
Correct.
From day one to retirement,
Yep.
they've never driven a car.
Yep.
Because they've never had to.
Yep.
It's not that they've been stopped from it. It's just that they've made the choice that it's not worth bothering with a car because their lifestyle doesn't require it.
Yeah, but it's only going to work in Hamilton if we provide really good quality public transport and have people living close to where the public transport is available. And then they will do the same thing. It's a bit like, you know, when I got in council 20 years ago, Lance, there was some talk about apartments being built in Garden Place, and they were saying, well, Hamiltonians don't live in apartments. They want their quarter-acre section and things
Look
like
what we've got.
Apartments all over the place. This city has got another first, or number one in the country. We are growing up more than we're growing out.
Okay.
Last year and the last 2 years, we've averaged 55% infill housing. Which the new housing in the city has been within the existing suburbs. Not the new. Sure, we're growing outwards as well. It looks like we're sprawling. We're actually going up more than out. Every other, look, Tauranga is only 28% going up. They're still sprawling out. With 72% of their growth is going outwards, only 45% of houses. We'd like to get it to about 1/3 going out, 2/3 going up. And then when you've got a more compact city, public transport works better. People have more community spirit. They're not separated from their neighbours so much, provided it's well designed and there's good
You're not
green
far
space.
from the facilities, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So do you think we're at a situation? Because I know a lot of people say, "Oh, not many people use the bus, not and all that sort of carry on." But do you think we're actually at that stage of applying the "if you build it, the people will come" concept?
And certainly that's what with the principle, if you like, we've followed with rail.
Yeah.
Because no one can say how many people really are going to use it. We've done about 3 studies on that. And I mean, to be honest, how long's a piece of string for that? But the buses, we have been measuring for 20 years now. And there was a period of growth because we had ratchet bus services in the early 2000s, the old blue ones.
It was worse before that when I shifted here in '87.
And they went up until about 2010. We got a new mayor in that didn't care for public transport, and literally they tailed off a bit. Now, in the last year and a half, they've started going up. Not just in Hamilton either. Taumutu, Cambridge, Huntley, double-decker buses coming in from Raglan each day. You know?
I only found out the other day there's a double-decker coming in from
There's one coming in
Raglan.
from Huntley too, and there's 2 other double-deckers in Hamilton. We need more. It's because it's starting to catch on. Just starting.
Yeah, and that's where I think the mayor's concept of getting young people onto buses early so that it becomes normal. They may still get a driver's license, but they may not own a car for quite some time just because they don't need one, and they don't have the mentality of you have to own a car as soon as you can afford one. It's like, oh, I'll own a car when it's convenient and when I absolutely need it, but up until then I'll use public transport.
Or they'll say, I'll never own a car, but I like to drive on occasion for a holiday or whatever, so I'll hire a car there, or I'll use the car share scheme in Hamilton. I need a car to go to Huntley for a meeting today, so I'll use my Loop car share app, and I'll grab the car for the day. It'll cost me $30 to get there and back. 4 of us will go in that, and it's a hell of a lot easier than owning a car, hell of a lot cheaper, and in order to get to where the car's parked, I'll use the Lime scooter.
A friend of mine is like that in Wellington. He had a car, and he sat down and did some figures, and realised that it was actually costing them more to own the car because there was really nowhere convenient to park it for work. So he was using the public transport system in Wellington. So the car spent most of its time sitting in a garage which he was having to rent because where their property was positioned, the garage was actually a couple of houses down the street. And he also found out that half the time they were using it was just an excuse to use the car. So
to
he
justify
sold it.
your ownership,
Because when they went on holiday, they often went on holiday. They'd fly from Wellington to Auckland or Wellington to Christchurch, right? And he found that it was more convenient to do that and hire a car there. So even for 3 weeks holiday, often their car was not used because they were holidaying away from Wellington.
Well,
and it was cheaper to actually fly to Auckland, hire a car, drive to the Bay of Islands, and do your holidaying, come back to Auckland, jump on the plane and come back. It was to own a car for the year.
Yeah. Look, do you know that the average period of time that cars are mobile in New Zealand? 5% of the time. 95% of the time they're sitting in a bloody garage or a car park somewhere.
It's true. I use my bike more than 5%.
That's right. Yeah. So, what a waste of resource from anyone's point of view. Yeah, look, I like driving a car, and I do it when I'm on holidays, but I'm starting to think, well, if I can only get the bus to go past where I live or nearby, I'm going to hop on that and use a loop car share in town, and maybe a Lime scooter now and then, if I can stay upright on the Lime scooter.
Everywhere I've lived in Hamilton, I've been close proximity to a bus stop and ease of getting into Hamilton, into town. Yeah. I now live close enough that it's just a dawdle into town anyway. But
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, and good luck on the elections.
Yeah. Thanks,
and I'd say have fun, but you're always going to have fun.
Oh yeah, I like
debates are fun.
Yeah, the debates are fun. Meeting the other candidates is fun. Meeting the public's fun.
Yeah.
Most of them anyway. Most of the candidates, most of the public. It's part of being a councillor, part of being a local